It is gorgeous out today. Go outside. And while you're doing that, go ahead and plug this into Spotify and just listen to me while you walk around in the woods, or do whatever you're going to do. Go for a jog. Do something. It's beautiful out. Go take care of it. To start things off today, I'm going to talk about 18th century America's most storied bromance and the bitches that came between them. Now, right off the bat, you're probably thinking Hamilton, but you're wrong. Not about Hamilton being a bitch, but stick around. Two guys help write the Declaration of Independence 50 years later. They both die on the exact same day, which happens to be the 4th of July. And in between those two dates, they spent about a decade calling each other liars, cowards, monarchists. They spent years calling each other all kinds of shit, and then eventually reconciled and wrote some of the most honest letters in history to patch it up. And yeah, Hamilton's in this story, and he's a disaster, but he's not even the real problem. The real problem is a guy named Callender. 1775 to 1776, Jefferson's the quiet Virginia lawyer who can write like an angel but can't talk in front of people at all. He's the quiet, observant type in the corner. On the other hand, John Adams is this loud Massachusetts brawler who's never met a room he couldn't you with. Two polar opposites. So the relationship works out great. Adams basically bullies the committee into letting Jefferson write the Declaration because John knows that Jefferson is a lot better at it, and Adams is too unpopular to be trusted with the pen. It's not an insult, that's his own words. He knew he was argumentative as hell. He had a lot of self-awareness, and I will give him that. When Jefferson goes to Paris as an ambassador, Adams and his wife Abigail are right there in Europe with him. Abigail basically adopts Jefferson like a sad bachelor nephew who doesn't know how to buy his own furniture. These three were pretty tight. Fast forward to the 1790s. In my opinion, the American dream is officially dead. It has been taken over by the American reality. Washington is president, and two political parties formed basically by accident, built entirely around these two guys. Adams becomes a Federalist. That side wants a strong central government, a national bank, closer ties with Britain. They're mostly nervous about too much democracy, and they think that regular people can get whipped up into a mob, mainly because they just it happen. Jefferson becomes the face of the Democratic Republicans. That side wants power kept close to the states, distrusts big government, and looks at banks as just tools for the rich. They lean more towards trade with France instead of Britain, partly because France just helped them win the revolution, partly because Jefferson absolutely loves the place. So Adams ends up thinking that Jefferson, his friend, is a dangerous radical who's going to import the French Revolution's guillotine energy to Virginia. Jefferson thinks that his friend Adams is basically trying to build a monarchy with extra steps, and honestly, Adams didn't help himself there. The man had genuinely written some shit about hereditary titles, and that made people pretty nervous. When Adams becomes president in 1797, his vice president becomes Thomas Jefferson, mainly because that's how shit worked back then. Whoever came in second became the vice president. John Adams is president, Jefferson is vice president. Thomas decides that he's going to go ahead and try to ruin John Adams from inside his own administration. And Jefferson really didn't just disagree with Adams in public. He secretly bankrolls a journalist named James Callender to go after him in print. Callender's basically a hired attack dog, an 18th century version of an anonymous burner account. He's basically an internet troll. And Jefferson's paying him and feeding material behind the scenes while playing innocent in public. Callender publishes some brutal shit about John Adams, calls him mentally unfit, accuses him of wanting to marry his son into the British royal family to start an American monarchy. Just total absurd shit, or foreshadowing. Then the Sedition Act happens. What the Sedition Act is? Basically, Adams signs a law that lets his administration jail newspaper editors and writers for criticizing the government, and it gets used almost exclusively against his political opponents. I just realized there is a lot of fucking foreshadowing in this. Callender gets himself thrown into prison under the Sedition Act, so the guy that Jefferson secretly hired to smear Adams ends up in jail because of Adams' own law. And Jefferson just lets it happen without lifting a finger to help him. I mean, understandable. Thomas Jefferson also decides that the whole Sedition Act business is the last straw politically. The 1800 election happens, and it turns out to be an absolute bloodbath, full of accusations about atheism, tyranny, secret monarchist plot on both sides. Jefferson wins, and Adams is so mad that he just fucking skips the inauguration entirely and leaves town at 4 a.m. like a man running from a bad Tinder date. Foreshadowing. Oh, shit, almost died. And this is where our friend Alexander Hamilton shows up to make everything worse, because that's basically his full-time job in this era. Hamilton hates John Adams. Not politically, not personally. He hates him completely. He writes an insane 50-page book, pamphlet, whatever you want to call it, trashing his own party's sitting president, calling Adams' judgment and temperament unfit for office, calling him a vain, jealous, and emotionally unstable man. It was supposed to be a private letter sent out to Federalist insiders, but it got leaked, and when it got leaked, it backfired spectacularly. It splits the Federalist Party fucking right down the middle, right before the election, and it helps hand Jefferson the win, so Hamilton, trying to stop Jefferson, accidentally elects Jefferson because he's a clown. Alexander Hamilton, that man could not help himself, and it wasn't the first or last time that his mouth actually cost him a lot of shit. That's another day. Notice something, though. Hamilton's mess is a Federalist Party problem. It's not actually what broke Jefferson and Adams. The damage was already done due to the Sedition Act, and just once people get power, it's usually downhill from there. So the damage had already been done, and now it's time for some real fucking betrayal. Because once Jefferson is president, Callender wants a reward for all that dirty work he did against Adams. He wants a cushy postmaster job. Jefferson says no. The same guy that Jefferson secretly used as a weapon against Adams turns that same weapon on Jefferson and publishes the story that first breaks Sally Hemings' allegations to the public. We all know who Sally Hemings is. Ladies and gentlemen, Sally Hemings. The guy that Jefferson hired to burn his enemy ends up torching his ass instead. That's that kind of poetic justice that you really can't script. And Adams and Jefferson didn't speak. Not for over a decade. These two guys used to write each other constantly, hung out every chance they got, traveled all over the world together. So yeah, basically they just completely quit any and all communication. Adams goes back to Massachusetts and just stirs over the whole thing. John Adams is 100% certain that Thomas Jefferson had organized his humiliation. Jefferson serves 2 terms as president, retires to Monticello, potato. Dr. Rush, who apparently missed his calling as a marriage counselor, has literally been begging these men to fix it. He even goes as far as to say that he had a dream about their reconciliation before either one of them ever caved. John Adams sends the first letter. Short, shy, few lines about a homespun cloth of all things. Basically, he was just testing the water to see if Jefferson would even respond. Jefferson writes back almost immediately, and then they don't stop. For the next 14 years, these two men write each other over 150 letters arguing about religion, aristocracy, the French Revolution, whether or not any of them would want to relive their lives again. But now it's warm. It's not as vicious. It's honestly some of the best writing any of them have ever produced, and you can find that shit at the Library of Congress. It's a pretty cool website. Mainly, the stuff worked because they weren't performing for history anymore. They were just 2 old men who finally admitted that they missed each other. 50 years to the day after the Declaration of Independence was signed, John Adams is 90. He's dying in Massachusetts. He doesn't even know that Thomas Jefferson had just passed away like 3 to 4 hours earlier. And his last words, according to the witnesses in the room,
Thomas Jefferson survives.
Thomas Jefferson survives. I mean, he was wrong, but we didn't have text messaging back then. Jefferson died just a few hours earlier in Monticello, weak in pain, having reportedly asked repeatedly if it was the 4th yet before he could let himself go. So these two men, 50 years later, exact same date, and historians have spent 2 centuries trying to explain away that as a coincidence, and maybe it is, but it does make you wonder if the universe has a sense of humor. 2 best friends, then worst enemies, a hired hitman journalist who burned them both, and then they both checked out the same day, 50 years later. Not just the same day, the 4th of July. And before you think your workplace drama is bad, you gotta remember, this shit provoked these two to not speak for 12 years. They ran secret smear campaigns against each other and still managed a better ending than most modern friendships. Let me know in the comments if you loved it, if you hated it, if you like, subscribe, hit that bell, share it, follow it, all of that stuff. I can't say whether or not there's a new video every day or a new video every 3 days. It's basically just when I get bored. I'm Jeremy. This is Not in the Book. Deuces, deuces.
I'm a cook. George had beef, John talk shit. Jefferson wrote 20 pages, then made a stick. Grandma grabbed a pitchfork, frontiersman couldn't miss. British looked around like, nah, screw this. Every time I open up another dusty page, some random ass start